Hello people, as you can see today there's no scratch cards, but I have got the two new Fitbit health trackers. Both of them will do brilliantly if you're just after losing weight. Like I said, obviously the Charge 3 is only released last week, so obviously that's the newest one. As you can see, they've definitely reduced the packaging. So what I'll do first is I want to just show you the packaging, obviously, and where I think Fitbit has managed to bring the price down substantially. So on release, Charge 2 was £160, I believe, as opposed to Charge 3, it's only £130. So that's a big difference in price. So if we just open them up for now. Oh, I knew I'd mess up like that. So we'll open this one. As you can see, this Charge 2, it does look more premium boxing and everything compared to the Charge 3, which I just feel it is got a bit of a cheaper edge to it, and obviously that's purely down to, I suppose, saving costs and bring it in budget. The one thing you do get is you do get both a small band and a large band with the Charge 3. Something that you didn't get with the Charge 2. I'm probably going to get some of these muddled up at some point, but hey, that's life. So the next thing I want to point out to you is some of the areas where I think the Charge 3 comes out on top, and one of them is on the band. On the actual on the band. Let's get my clip a minute. So obviously, everyone's always said that taking off these bands on the Charge 2 is a bit of a pain, and to be honest, they are a bit of a. But what the one thing I do like about these, compared to the Charge 3, which I will do now. So when you get your Charge 3, it come with like this little protective layer. Obviously that just peels off quite easy, but for now I'll keep that on. So what I'm going to do is with this one is just a little button, you just press it and it releases. But you know, this is the key difference between the two. So if I show you quickly the Charge 3 connection, you can see in here, I don't think you'll be able to see it probably, they're just two little grooves. The actual connection itself is on the actual Fitbit. You can see the two clips there. Now, when you compare it to the Charge 2, on the Charge 2, all you've got on the unit is just hinges. As you can see, I know it's not focusing great, but this is the area where I think the Charge 2 comes out on top quite easily, because all the actual important stuff with the Charge 2 is on the bands itself. So what I have had happen is the little hinges here is broke. Now that's not an issue, is it? Because you know, you could just go and buy a new band. Whereas on the Charge 3, you're going to end up having to buy a whole new Fitbit. If those clips go on the actual unit, then you know you're kind of finished, which is kind of disappointing. So I wouldn't recommend people go changing the bands on a regular basis. As for the actual, I'll just whack these in here like this, so I can show them off a little bit better side by side. If I take this off now, you can see the difference between the two units. Obviously, the other key thing I do want to point out is, as you can see, at the moment, that's looking a bit deceiving, isn't it? Because it does look like the Charge 2 is a far superior screen. It isn't. It's because I've got the energy saving dim mode. If I were to go into settings and then move it along and along and along, go into that, go into dim auto, and then do the same on this one, you will see that the Charge 3 does have far more. And I should have disabled all the auto switch off really, but I didn't. So at the moment, I must say I also got another little hit with Charge 3. I'm not too keen on their charger too. If you look at the charger, you can see that, well, you can't really focus, it ain't good enough. You can see, look at those pins. They're so far out. When we compare it to the Charge 2 pins, you could just see that they're nowhere near as far out as the Charge 2 ones. So yeah, you've got to be extra careful when you're actually fitting the Charge 3. So you can quite clearly see the difference in the two units. So they're definitely not compatible in any way, shape or form. And I personally wouldn't even attempt to try fitting them, because you can clearly see the pins are completely differently separated. So that you won't even be able to mod it to connect it, because the pins just will not line up properly. And you'll probably end up just destroying one or the other unit, depending which charger you're using. So most of that's covered. As for compatibility, both of them. If you've got a Charge 2, then you won't have no problems with the Charge 3, because they're both at the same. I just want this screen onto this one. At the moment, that's the best one that I like desktop screen, startup screen. So yeah, what I'll do now is I'll just, I wouldn't, this stands at the moment, I would say the Charge 2 is great for people who just wants to lose weight. If you're just someone who ain't really into tech and you just want something to lose weight, you could save yourself £20 and just get the Charge 2 model. But obviously, you haven't got the customization that the Charge 3 has got, which obviously, if you're not into tech, you would prefer something that is just kind of like click and go kind of thing, and that's what this one is a very more basic. You don't really do much on the tracker itself. Obviously, this is my old tracker. It looks alright now, doesn't it? But technically, it's not. The battery completely died on me about a month ago now, and it's staying 87%. I only whacked it on charge for about 5 minutes this morning. So that is not aimed at both these trackers. That is just the battery life on them. Generally, on the Charge 2, the battery life seems to be about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years if you're careful with battery usage, because it's the charge cycle that actually damages the batteries on them. But yeah, obviously, we don't know how long the Charge 3 battery is gonna last yet, because we're only just got it really. So some of the reasons for going for a Charge 2, I would probably say the clips on the unit is better, because if they do break, you just buy a new unit. Obviously, if price drops to around £60 to £70 on the Charge 3, then that would probably be a good alternative to get budget alternative to go to, no question about that, because the Charge 2 is just as good. I just said Charge 3, I meant Charge 2, sorry. So there's plenty of guides and all that on the Charge 2, because it's been out for 2 years now. you know, there's a lot of guides on how to use the unit and things like that. So that's another kind of plus. And it is more simple to use on the watch, which means it gives you more time to getting used to the app and all that kind of thing. Where the Charge 3 is a more, you've got more customizable things on the Charge 3, which could confuse someone who ain't into tech. And like I said, the Charge 2 would still be a great unit to help you lose weight. Both of these would be that. So, you know, now what I'll do now is I'll move on to the, I'll put the Charge 2 away, and I'll move on to just the Charge 3 now. So what I've done here is I can tell people right now that this is, well, as you can see, the time. Basically, the reason I've got that little clock warning up there is purely because I've had this on now for a week, Monday to Monday. So technically, this is the 8th day that I've had it on. And you know, you can't complain. To have 8% battery life left after 8 days, that's not bad at all, people. Like I said, how did I achieve this? Well, I achieved this by doing quite a few things. What I'll do now is I'll bring up a little photo now, diagram showing you how I done it. So the first thing I did was I enabled and disabled some of the options. So the things that, as you can see on screen, the things I disabled was notifications, the dim display, the auto display. So if you move your hand up it automatically, I disabled that, and I disabled the GPS. And I did not activate no activities on the band. It was all done by auto walking, the auto on walking system. Right, so the things I did use a lot of was obviously I set the options to strong vibrations, because that's the highlight of this one. I do like the fact that it is a lot stronger on the vibrations, especially when you set it to fully on. I will go through some of the options in a minute and show you where to find some of these options, because some of them are a bit of a pain. It took me a few days. So yeah, obviously I wanders off on things like, so I use strong vibration, time cooking for the timer. Obviously the walking and the heart rate was, well, 24/7 pretty much. I do like the weather report on there, that's pretty cool. And the hour movement buzzer would go off. And because the vibrations on this one's better, you're more likely to notice that. That's what I found. I've managed to do the whole week on the hourly thing. Something that I could never really achieve on the Charge 2, because that one of the downsides to the Charge 2 was the buzzer. The vibrations wasn't that strong. But I have set mine too strong. Yeah, you can change it if you wanted to. So if I go on to here, for example, and we swipe to the left, we could go into settings, and you can see the brightness. At the moment, I've switched it over, but I've had it on dim every time. Now, dim, it works okay. It's only in like cloudy, sunny weather that you can't really see it properly. There's your vibration options there, obviously. As you can see this pretty good on the camera anyway. And this is how I've achieved that. I will just show you. I do need to update this version. So when I put this on charge after this video, this will be updated. So whether this will change something, I'm not too sure. Right, so that's all that settings there. If you wanted to turn off the brightness, hold this button in and you get these options up, notifications and screen wake. But be careful, because if you do turn these off, what I find is it doesn't really work on the app. You've got to go to the app and turn off everything there. That's one of the problems with the GPS I had. And this will bring me on to my next one of how the battery fared each day. So I'll put up another screen now and I'll show you how much of the battery life that I had each day, and how many steps I did on that day. So you could see it's done 8 days pretty much on a single charge, and this was last Monday. So it come out on the Sunday. I hooked it up to be charged up, and to be fair to it, yeah, I know some of the things I've disabled. If you go back onto the other the display screen, you will see some the things that I did disable to save on battery life is probably, if you had all them enabled, sorry, I don't think they would. I think you probably only get about 5 days battery life out of it. But I've managed to get 8 days, and as you can see, the diagram is pretty straightforward. I started off on 100%, then it dropped to 88%, which left me with 12% that day. Obviously, the discharge power is 24 hours behind, because obviously I don't know what the power usage is going to be each day. What the reason one of them's 18% is because that was the confusion with me turning off the GPS on the watch, but I didn't turn it off on the app, and the app was overriding the watch. So, but like I said, that's only little issues. That will, as time goes on, they'll better update that so there's a two-way communication between the tracker and the app. So yeah, apart from that 18-day, the rest of them are all well within. But then you've got to remember that's because of what I've disabled. If we take into account the GPS was that 18% usage that day, that was because the GPS was on and the auto display feature was on. And I'm pretty sure I still had it on auto brightness. So if we take into consideration that's 18%, and let's say on top of that you go out for a run or something like that, you're probably looking at about 20% a day on the battery. That's if you do the same thing every day. But if you want to be energy careful to save on the battery, so your life of the battery can last longer, because you can't change the batteries even on the Charge 3, then I would recommend disabling the 5 options that you can see on the screen now. I've had some sync errors, but I've been able to solve most of that myself just by either turning off the location and the Bluetooth and restarting the phone, and that sorts it, or just restarting the watch. And you restart the watch by plugging it in and then just holding on to the button for 8 seconds. Then it restart with a smiley face. The key points of the Charge 3 over the Charge 2 is battery life. 8 days I've had like this. The waterproof resistance to 50 meters, another plus. The SpO2 sensor, which I think the company's got a lot of future benefits coming using that device, and it is just more customizable. For example, if I just bring this up, say if I wanted to do an exercise, all I do is click on this. I'll do a simple one, so treadmill's a new one. I'll do run. So say if I wanted to run, but I only wanted to burn off I don't know, 1,000 calories. No, 1,000 calories, that'd be a lot. Let's say you wanted to do 100 calories or something. You could go on there and you can set calories, and then the watch will tell you once you've achieved that goal. So there's a lot more customizable options, and that's the same on all the activities you can do. So it is good, I must admit. If I were to go down the screen, that would bring up all your notifications from your phone. So people phoning you up, sending you texts. But like I said, the problem with those features is they're going to really hit your battery life, which means realistically, I reckon about 5 days. Right, I think I've covered most of everything. The one thing I was really surprised about is from 0 to 100%, it could take up to 2 hours to charge the device. So yeah, I'm going to be whacking it on charge now, so I'm probably not going to be using it till about 8 o'clock. Well, no, what more about 2 hours? 9 o'clock, isn't it? But hopefully it'll be charged before then. But yeah, that's it for my kind of like review kind of thing. I don't normally do things like this, but I just, if you're someone who wants to lose weight and you've tried like diet companies and Slimming World and Weight Watchers and all the other ones and they haven't really worked, please consider getting one of these because they will help you. They don't do everything for you. You put in the information, they give you back information to start making the right choices. And that's what these do. They won't tell you what to do. They won't make a big deal about things. They will just work providing you put the information in. You put the information in and you will lose weight. So yeah, if you've stayed this far, thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll get on with charging the Charge 3 for the next round to see how long I can get it lasting next time. So thanks for watching. Until next time, ta-da.